Om Ghanatimirandasya Gadam Jalam Shalakali Shakshuru Meditam Jainatais Meishi Guravenam.
Srila Narottam Das Thakur offers his obeisances in this way to his spiritual master. And it is a prayer that is very deep, because living beings in this world are covered by ignorance. What does ignorance mean? We speak about it sometimes. I'm writing new books, more accessible to people, and sometimes we use the term ignorance, but nobody understands what is ignorance, what is the term ignorance, that Vaishnavas use. Why? Ignorance, before everything else, means to think we're something which we are not. We have an eternal nature that we call Svarup, the form of the soul, and this form cannot be expressed until we are disposed to accept an eternal relationship with the divine Krishna. Why we call him Krishna? It's not a sectarian connotation. We are not in a term of having clans. God doesn't have any clans. He is neither partial nor impartial. There's no France, there's no Italy, there's no territory. There's no partiality. Krishna means the one who harmonizes everything. When someone sees him, he becomes fascinated and satisfied. He raises his arms, he cries, he's full of love, there's no more problem, it's finished. That's what we call Krishna. Once, I heard rabbis speak. That was very nice the way they were speaking. They were saying, the day where people will be able to understand God, they will raise their arms and they will cry. And they'll be together. They'll be able to live together. But that means to see. That means the ignorance must leave. Because as long as there is ignorance, I think I am this body. And if we think we are this body, naturally we have a conception of clans, groups. Why? Because the attraction we have towards the absolute truth is not strong enough. And this is why we're in ignorance. Because as long as it is not powerful enough, so we have a conception of myself. I want to take my part of the cake. I want to serve God, but I need something for myself. I want my respect. Somehow, what does it mean? That we don't live in the kingdom of God, because our kingdom, we ask the Lord to come, but to a certain level. He can have a place, but a little bit. There's not enough love. Our bhajan, our worship is not pure enough, so that we can see the deity. But when Krishna appears, it's finished. It's finished. There's no more religiosity. It is pure spirituality. This is why Narottam, he starts his prayers. Om Gyanatimirandasya Gyananjanan Shalakaya Chakshurun Meritam Yana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. I offer my obeisances to my Guru by his teachings. Teachings means the knowledge that can drive away the obscurity. It's just like the light when it appears in the room. When we do not see too well, we can think that we can be afraid of the rope. And we can think that a help, we can think a cheater is a good person. We mix everything. But when the light is full, and it is not blinding, and it is just, then at this moment we understand things as they are. And naturally, the faith becomes like a path where we see footprints on this path. The experience of and through this attitude, their example, then we can have the same experience. This is what Yashodhadwal was saying about the worship of Narottam Das Thakur. It is an experience. What does a Vaishnava do? A Vaishnava, when he reads a text of another Vaishnava, he says, oh, he has a great confusion. I knew nothing, and now I understand everything. And then, when the surrender is complete, and that the person considered himself very ignorant, then he receives. But as soon as we think, I am a scholar, it's like this, and we receive nothing. Because this path of faith, we can see it and experience it simply by humility. Only humility is our guide. The more we are small, the more we receive. This is why you can understand that someone who is advanced spiritually, that means that she has humility, that means she is small, that she can ask herself questions, that can see her faults. So it becomes so pure that they're not faults anymore. It is simply that he sees himself inferior to everyone else. Such a person, what does he obtain? To be loved by everyone. Unless those who envy saintly people, it exists. We see Haridas Thakur in his life, he was attacked, just like Jesus Christ, for example, was attacked. There will always be people who are envious of those who are pure, of those who are charged with a mission, those who are invested of the divine power by the Supreme Lord, and who represent the Supreme Lord on earth. There will always be hypocrites, because on the name of God we can use the name of God. And when the representative of God comes, what do? This hatred can be small or it can be big, but never can we destroy the one who is invested in power, because no material cause can give us that. No material cause can hurt that person. This is why the teachings of such a being is powerful, very powerful. So when you are confronted by this power, this purity, so what do? You lower your head, you become conquered. And this is this humility that you can be introduced in the kingdom of faith. Otherwise it's just a mental experience. You speak about something, but that you cannot experience. But if we take the life of Siddhartha, I liked very much, is that his preaching was based on experience. He was going to see all the sadhus, and then he was lowering his head, because it was... But the true faith means the experience. There is experience, and by experience, so you cannot fall down anymore. And the experience gives all qualities, no matter what, how you are born, what age you have, if you're intelligent or if you're idiot, if you're beautiful or if you're rich. The truth, when it comes, it illuminates you, in the sense that you have the experience of what you are. It has nothing to do with your birth. Phenomenon of castes. True religion brings towards, is higher than everything else. This is why our Dharma must be beyond the bodily conception of life. Otherwise, it is not the true Dharma. If our Dharma does not free us from hatred and envy towards others, and that it doesn't put us in a harmony with all living beings, so it must be rejected, because it is material. If on the name of faith, in the name of love, we fight like cats and dogs, it is worth nothing. This is where we recognize a true path, a true spiritual path. Does it harmonize? Can it harmonize everything? Can it understand others? If you practice it, will it open your consciousness, or will it diminish it? For example, I lived with spiritual groups, with people who had a very diminished consciousness of the divine. And I can tell you that they were seeing demons everywhere, except those in the temple. So it doesn't make many friends. It's very limited. And what is the result in their heart? Is that instead of developing love, they develop frustration because they do not obtain the goal for which the institution is manifested in this world. Before everything else, they are not bricks that or walls or flags that are interesting. It's not associations or institutions. What we want is love. We are there to develop love of God. We're not there to protect an institution and go in the street just like, different movements. We are the best. We are the best. And the others are false. And the others are false. We are the best. One time, a long time ago, in 1994, we were chanting in the streets in Paris. We must have been a dozen, and we met another religious group. And when they saw us, they transformed. They were like, "You will go to hell." They were completely transformed. It was aggressive. We should not be like this. We should say, "Oh, the Lord manifests in another form." Why? Why does the Lord have only one face if the living beings have different desires? It's strange, no? Why can a Buddhist not be Buddhist? Why not appreciating a Buddhist? Because he loves his faith and is good in his faith. Must we absolutely, because he's not like us, hate him? He's a Buddhist. He's a miscreant. We keep creant. It must be strong in the throat. Screant. It hurts. It hurts saying this word. You understand? We develop this hatred because we cannot understand others. If we are sincere, it must disappear. It takes time. Each experience that we have is made to change us. It took me so many years to take out this sectarianism. That was not so long ago, I still had remnants of it. But we must work. If we are sincere, it can leave. We must appreciate others. There must be for everyone. So of course, it doesn't mean that we'll make people enter who do not respect us and who want to destroy us. We must have discrimination. We must also protect, how to say, our family somehow. It is part of a balance. There will always be a police. There will always be an army. But we speak about an army of mercy, a police of mercy, who is there to install peace and to make the consciousness elevate itself. After speaking like this, we don't hear. After criticizing others, we don't have the same. It's not universal anymore. But the point is, unless we developed good respect, we cannot progress. It's not possible. If someone loves Jesus, he must love Jesus. I must appreciate his faith. I must appreciate him. I must not be like a vulture who is flying around and criticizing you. This is not a good state of mind. We must rather understand that it is the same Lord that is behind everything and that everyone needs his own path. We must help. It's really important because in this way we'll be able to see, we call him Krishna, Some call him Allah, some call him Christ. How Krishna, he shares his mercy. How he loves all living beings. It's very important because from there we become peaceful. We can go to the next level. Otherwise, we fight. We spend our time. I saw an American devotee. He contacted me recently. He wanted to preach to everyone and he wanted to save everyone. I told him, oh, calm yourself. I don't think it's the good method. We should preoccupy ourselves with it. In our own life, develop love. We should focus on that. When things go wrong, we have the reflex to take care of others instead of taking care of ourselves. This is where there's a problem. But it's difficult to take care of ourselves. It's difficult to see who we are, to see all the rotten things that are there in our heart. It's difficult, but it's important. But the Lord gave us a method. If we chant the name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, so this purity can come in us and make us see what we are not. From there, we can progress. We can have the experience. By the experience, we can have an introspection. We can have remembrance and establish ourselves on a higher platform and let go of the material consciousness. From there, then we see the truth. We must have experience. We should desire the experience. The experience will come if we desire it. If you think you're good like this, then you will stay a religious person. Religious means what? It means there's an external look, but internally there's not much. There's no inner life. There's no introspection. There's no experience. We speak about something, you speak about something that you do not know. Finally, it's very difficult to live in this way. We speak about something that we cannot experience. It's very difficult. It is just like accepting a costume or a shell. The only difference is that when we take a material role, this role is not truly our role, and it can make us go away from our true reality. But when you have a spiritual practice, even if you don't understand it, you go closer to the Lord. This is the difference. For example, Vaishnavism is the understanding of who is God, His name, His form, His qualities, His pastimes. So, the more we will remember, and the more our own form, name, qualities, and places in the pastimes of the Lord will manifest. This is why, although there's a distance at the beginning, because we cannot understand our eternal nature, because we meet the Lord, and our eternal nature can awaken itself. But the material experience, the more we have material experiences, the more we go further than our truth. Because material experience means I am God the Master. So the more we act like this, the more we go further than our eternal identity. This is why everyone must have a form of spirituality. It's very important. And for this, the spiritualist, he must have a good behavior. If we do not develop qualities, if there's no experience, what will happen? It's that behind we'll do wrong things. Myself, for example, there were people who helped us for the work, for the things to do in the monastery, and he told me that it's weird. So there was someone else who was going into exchange clubs, and the Sunday he will speak the good word. So how can people accept these words of someone who is doing wrong things in behind? So what we say and what we think must be the same thing. If there's no truth, in a religious person. So it is just like a great cheating, because people will hate that. They will feel cheated. This is the worst thing. This is what is worst. When we say something, but behind we do the opposite. We must be sincere. It is our responsibility. It's really important. It doesn't mean fanaticism. It's because we have a duty towards our brothers. If we bear a religious costume, if people know that we represent the truth, so we have no choice. Because even a small mistake, people will use this mistake to reject our truth, and it will fall down upon you. This is why people rejected God. For example, in the Middle Age, it was terrible what was happening. The monks, they were raping the ladies. There were so much massacres. It's normal that people reject that. If you speak about love, but you do more wrong than normal people, so people will say, this path is the worst. You understand? This is why we must have a behavior and work on ourselves. And it is difficult. For example, we have an association that is called Ahimsa Nonviolence. Ahimsa Nonviolence, it's not so easy to bear that name. For example, if you do a Harinam and someone tells you something wrong and you react negatively, it's written non-violence, but look at how he's reacting negatively. So it's not easy. But at the same time, when we show things, we are obliged to work on ourselves, because the environment will make us know, we'll feel that we're not acting properly. There are two solutions. Either we become angry, either we change. It is not possible to not commit mistakes, but it is possible to change our mentality. So we should have this attitude of always progress, to turn towards ourselves and not towards others. Anyway, it is ridiculed. Someone who cannot even change himself, how can he change others? It's not possible. You understand? It is simply the false ego that thinks that he is like a savior of the world. Everyone goes through that. Don't worry. We have wings that grow with a halo, and we all think that we are sent by God. It's not an isolated case. Everyone goes through that. It's the beginning, we call that the beginning. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that. Their spiritual zeal will save the planet, and 2 weeks later it's the big fall down. I have doubt, I have no energy, it's not easy, it's true, it was good, but now it's hard. And 3 weeks later, when it goes better, we will all convert them. I feel a special power in me. So what is happening? Let us analyze that. It's the wrong behavior. We receive the mercy, and when we utilize it wrongly, it goes away. We should utilize to understand our problem, to have the experience. When the experience comes, naturally, it frees us from sectarianism. It brings us to a platform of freedom where we respect living beings, and people feel respected. People feel good, and especially we will feel also good with living beings. We will feel the harmony. Harmony exists, it is there. We must learn to see it. From there, what's happening? We have a peaceful life. We do not need to fight anymore.
Qu'est-ce que c'est finalement la vie
What is finally material life?
La vie d'un matérialiste.
What is the life of a materialist? It's fighting, struggle for existence.
Avec les lois universelles.
Because he's not in harmony with the universal laws, because he wants to be God, and he's against the current. It's hard to swim against the current. It's a constant struggle.
Donc,
So,
dès qu'on a ce travail
as
à l'intérieur de nous,
soon as we have this work inside of us,
une vie qui est facile.
we discover a life that is
Et la
easy,
compassion vient.
and compassion
Quand cette
comes.
facilité vient,
Because when this facility comes,
et qu'on voit les
this
gens
love, and we see people
courir,
run, we see them run, struggle for existence,
on ressent cette
then we
souffrance,
feel this suffering that they have, it touches us.
Et alors,
And
on
then
fait des plans à ce moment-là.
we make plans at
Parce
this
qu'on est
time.
nous-mêmes libérés
Because we're
pour
ourselves
les
freed,
aider.
we make plans to help
C'est ce qu'on
them.
appelle la compassion.
That's what we call
Et la
compassion.
elle existe
And
dans
compassion
tout.
exists in
Parce qu'il y a une
everything.
miséricorde.
Because there's a mercy.
La miséricorde,
The mercy
c'est pas simplement pour
Is not simply
les autres, ils en ont.
for a few persons.
Important.
It's for everyone.
Bouddhistes, ils parlent de
The
la
Buddhists,
compassion.
they speak about compassion. The Christians speak about compassion. Muslims speak about compassion. Everyone speaks about compassion, but at their level.
Plus on est libéré,
The more we are liberated,
plus
the
on a
more
l'expérience,
we have the
plus
experience,
la compassion
and more
est grande.
compassion is great.
Donc, au début, ça
So at the
commence par la
beginning,
compassion
it
par
starts with
les
the compassion.
frères. Les autres, on n'en peut pas. Il n'y a pas de compassion pour les autres.
There's no compassion for
Et
others.
à la fin, quand même, ah ouais, mais
He's hungry,
c'est pareil, tu
but no,
comprends.
it's not the same, you understand.
Si je lui donne,
If
il
I
va
give
avoir
him
plus de
food,
force. S'il a
he
plus
will
de
have more
force,
power.
il
If he
va
have more
prêcher les
power,
autres.
he will preach to others.
Il vaut mieux qu'il crève.
He should die.
Je suis un peu dur,
I'm a little hard, but
mais il y a une discrimination. dans la
there's
compassion.
a discrimination in
Elle est
compassion.
réservée qu'à certains.
It is
Moi, je sais,
reserved
une fois,
only to
j'ai
certain
été
people.
dans une autre foi, et j'ai
I was in
voulu
another
prendre la
faith,
communion, on l'a refusé.
and I wanted to take the communion,
Attendez, pourquoi?
and
Parce que
it
j'avais
was
mis la gauche,
I was
j'ai mis la
rejected
droite.
because I didn't put my left hand, I put my right hand. And they say, "Are you baptized?" I said, "No."
Ah, j'étais là, quand même.
And they said, "You have no right to take the communion."
Pas de miséricorde.
There's no mercy, I thought.
Non. Donc il y a une discrimination.
So there is a discrimination, you understand?
Tout le monde peut pas l'avoir.
Not everyone can have it. And this exists in all groups.
C'est normal.
It's normal.
Quand j'ai été dans d'autres
When
groupes,
I went
c'est
to
comme ça,
other
j'ai
groups,
vu, alors j'étais pas baptisé.
I was not
Ça
baptized.
dépend des groupes.
It depends on the groups.
Tout le monde a des conceptions de
Everyone
la compassion.
has conceptions of compassion.
Mais la compassion,
But
quand elle est pleine,
compassion, when it is full,
elle est pour tout le monde.
it is for everyone.
Même les animaux,
Even the animals,
même les arbres,
even the
même les
trees,
insectes.
even the
Parce que
insects.
l'âme, elle n'a
Because
pas
the
été
soul
quelque chose.
is inside everything.
Parce qu'il y a une compréhension de l'âme.
Because there's the understanding of the soul,
Donc on doit
which
avoir ce travail.
englobes everything. So we must have that work.
Plus loin.
We should go always deeper, further and further. As so, when we think that we have arrived, no, we stagnate. We should always go further and further. And it's a wonderful experience because when we have this dynamism, we learn from all living beings.
On se remet en question.
We ask ourselves questions.
Quelqu'un qui a ce dynamisme,
Someone who has this
six mois,
dynamism,
un an avant, il a complètement changé.
You see him 6 months later, he completely
Celui qui a
changed.
pas ce dynamisme,
The one who doesn't have this dynamism, he stagnates because he's always the same.
c'est à ça qu'on reconnaît
It's how we recognize someone who is sincere,
l'expérience.
who has the experience, who changes.
Discours change,
His discourse
son
changes.
ouverture
His openness
bizarre,
towards becomes greater and greater. He becomes more open-minded.
c'est une bonne influence.
And it is a good influence
Il libère les gens.
because he liberates people.
Quand on veut du pouvoir,
When we want power, what do?
on obstrue la conscience des êtres.
We obstruct the consciousness of living beings.
Par eux-mêmes.
So that because,
Pas le droit de réfléchir.
and then they cannot think on their
On
own.
peut pas réfléchir par
We tell
toi-même.
them, you cannot think on your own. You cannot
Par exemple,
introspect
si on
on your
voit
own.
Luther,
For example, if we see
il a trouvé
Luther,
ça. Il fallait
Luther,
passer par une institution pour avoir la miséricorde.
he had to pass through the institution to get them receive the mercy. So he said, it's not possible. We can receive that mercy on our own. The mercy of Jesus Christ is for everyone. We can receive it directly. It's not that we have to pass through an institution. So if the institution is pious, no problem. But if the institution becomes deviated, how do you do? You receive what from that institution? You understand? At the end, you start, you take a stick and you fight others because it will make you believe this is the mercy. The more you will kill people, the more you will receive the mercy. And this is what is happening. It's not a joke. So we must have the leader must liberate people so that they can receive this mercy on their own. In every institution, they make the same mistake. Why? Because they want power. Why? Because they are not pure, because they do not have the experience of reality. They don't even... it's not their fault. It's just the influence of ignorance and passion that pushes them. Just like a person who is waiting for the parent to leave his body to receive the the heritage, because he is waiting to receive 50,000 euros. It's the same thing when the passion and ignorance pushes a person to act, then things go wrongly. You must pass through me. You will obtain nothing if you don't pass through me. You understand? Thank you very much.